Let's now get some analysis on these developments from SABC International News Editor Sophie Mokoena. A very good day to you. The United Nations Security Council meeting convened to discuss Afghanistan. Are the members speaking in one voice?
Yes, the UN Security Council did agree yesterday and they issued a statement. Major countries, particularly the Permanent Five, Russia and China, did agree that now that the government or the administration is now in the hands of the Taliban must convene an urgent meeting with all stakeholders to ensure that there is an interim government, as they have promised during the talks over the weekend in Doha, in Qatar, and also a request to international community to assist in terms of humanitarian challenges, but also to ensure that lives of ordinary Afghan citizens and also the other nationals that are there, foreign nationals, are protected. The Security Council did issue that statement and they are monitoring the situation.
What has been the reaction from the European Union?
The European Union will hold a meeting of foreign affairs ministers today that will include those who are responsible for security policy within the EU. And yesterday, the EU ambassadors discussed means of evacuating European member countries' citizens who are still trapped in Afghanistan and those locals who want to leave Afghanistan, particularly people who were working in different embassies and institutions that are part of the European Union. And we know that the European Union has also decided to deploy military aircraft standby so that they can be able to evacuate their citizens. The main issue of concern is that as they do that, how do you deal with issues of migrants? Because we know already Europe is struggling to manage the challenges of migration. When you know that the migrants going to Europe, some from Africa, some from other regions, but particularly from Asia. And therefore, this is the issue that is likely to be a problem when EU member countries meet, the foreign affairs ministers who are expected to meet today. How do you deal with migrants? We know that there are countries within the European Union who are completely against receiving migrants from other regions, and particularly from a country like Afghanistan, where you have security challenges that may lead to those countries not being secured. And we know that Macron, the president of France, said he was going to speak to Angela Merkel to discuss this thorny issue of migrants. And then we know that on the other hand, not only Europe and America are kind of concerned and also issued statement. South Africa has this morning issued a statement, the International Relations Department, South Africa saying that they are appealing to the current administration or the Taliban to ensure that rule of law, human rights, are protected. Both the rule of law and the human rights are protected, but also they must ensure the safety of all citizens of Afghanistan and also the foreign nationals who are trapped in that country. And South Africa indicating that through its embassy in Islamabad in Pakistan, they have information that there are South Africans who are indeed trapped in Afghanistan, and they are doing everything in their power to ensure that they are able to assist South Africans who are in Afghanistan, and even issuing a number where members of the family in South Africa or even in other countries can call to indicate perhaps where their members of families are or relatives are in Afghanistan so that they can get help. And India, Desiree, on the other hand, also indicating that they will assist. You know that there's always been a standoff between Pakistan and India, these two powerful nuclear power nations, and Afghanistan was also used as a proxy when there are these standoff or perhaps this Cold War between the two countries, and therefore India also indicating that it stands ready to assist, particularly on issues that are related to migrants.
And just to reinforce that point you're making about migrants, Malala Yousafzai sending a letter to the government of Pakistan, her home country, asking them to please allow in Afghans who will be crossing through the borders seeking refuge there. But Sophie, another point that has come out in this whole conversation, the UN also asking the Taliban to ensure that they observe the promises made to the women of Afghanistan to give them full participation in the life of Afghanistan. I just want to read something here. It's quite lengthy, if you allow me, but we picked it up on The Guardian. A woman writing, as Afghanistan falls to the Taliban, a 24-year-old woman in Kabul tells of seeing the fearful faces of women and ugly faces of men who hate women all around her. The anonymous university student wrote in The Guardian, as a woman, I feel like I am the victim of this political war that men started. I felt like I can no longer laugh out loud. I can no longer listen to my favorite songs. I can no longer meet my friends in our favorite cafe. I can no longer wear my favorite yellow dress or pink lipstick. I can no longer go to my job or finish the university degree that I worked for years to achieve. Afghan women fear that the freedoms won since 2001 will now be crushed. I did not expect that we would be deprived of all our basic rights again and travel back to 20 years ago. That after 20 years of fighting for our rights and freedom, we should be hunting for burqas and hiding our identity, she wrote. What is the fate of women in all of this, Sophie?
You know, Desiree, I am a journalist. When you do certain stories, you just do your job. You try by all means to ensure that you don't get emotional or the tragedy doesn't take a better part of you, because you won't be able to tell a story from objective point of view, but also as you should. But this weekend, I even had nightmares, you know, because I could visualize women and the children and the youth in that country, how terrified they were. And that quick move by the Taliban to capture different cities. When they were moving from one city to the other, when you look at the visuals of the citizens of those respective cities, they were so helpless. It was almost like a situation of war, one country attacking another country, while it is a matter of people of the same, you know, geographic and also the country. They were so scared. And true, when you look at the Taliban carrying those machinery, guns, cars, scarves, it's so scary. You see Osama bin Laden's face. Osama bin Laden's face, it brings memory of Osama bin Laden in that case, issuing those directives and hard statements in terms of the next course of action in attacks. So it is painful. The UN outgoing director for women, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, our own former deputy president, weekend pleading, you know, with pleading and saying to the Taliban, please protect women. Please let the gains not be reversed, pleading with international community that protect the most vulnerable, the women. And we know in situations like this, rape is the most powerful weapon that is being used by men in military fatigue during conflict and during a war. And you can imagine the damage to women. And this case study of this young woman in The Guardian telling her story, that is exactly what is likely to happen in Afghanistan if the international community is looking away. Now everyone is worried about evacuating their own citizens, which makes those women, the Afghan women, to be even more vulnerable. Because if the international community is not there, they will do as they please. And therefore, I think it will be critical for the Secretary General of the United Nations to continuously convene the Security Council meeting to get an update. And if needs be, the coming United Nations General Assembly in September will have to focus on this issue to ensure that lives of ordinary Afghan citizens and also women and children are protected. They can still go to school. They can still do what they want to do. It is a very traumatic situation. Look at those planes, the American planes, full of people. I mean, where have you seen so many people in one aircraft?
Sophie, I just want to come in here and say we have to go now to a PSL briefing, but just quickly, events in Africa. Let's talk about the SADC summit that's currently underway. What can we expect to come out of there?
Of course, high on the agenda will be the security in the region. As you know, that countries such as Eswatini, Mozambique, and South Africa are having security challenges. South Africa will take over as the chair of the Organ on Politics and Defense, and Malawi will take over as chair of SADC in general. And of course, Zambia will also be high on the agenda. And maybe the new incoming president of Zambia, who has received messages across the world, including the United Nations, will be at that summit. He will make his first appearance.
Thank you so much for your time, Sophie Mokoena.